Hey Floss Tube, it's Dana here with Gemstone Stitches. I am here to do an update for you guys on what I've been working on the past, I think it's been about 5 weeks, maybe 4 weeks since my last Floss Tube video. I have been really enjoying watching everybody's Stitch Mania updates and watching Floss Tube videos and learning all the fun facts about everyone, doing the 20 things about me tag. And I actually decided to go ahead and do 20 things about me at the end of the video, right before I started to film this video. So I kind of threw facts together about me, and like everyone kind of says, it was kind of hard to find 20 things about me to share with you guys, or that I wanted to share. Some things I thought about and I thought, yeah, you know, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't share that story, but I did come up with 20, so I'll share that at the end of the video today. I do have an FFO and also a finish, and then I also have 2 current whips. One is actually a new whip, and then another one that I worked on was something that I shared in my last video, so I made some progress on that. Not as much progress as I would have liked, but I'll get into that later. The month of June was really busy. I worked it out and I spent 9 days at my house for the whole month of June. Otherwise, I was gone. The first week of June, I had my really large event that I do for work every year. It's every June, and basically it's all the clergy and lay people there's 1 clergy and 1 lay person per church. If there's more than 1 clergy person at a church, like a large church, then another lay person comes for every clergy. So that works out, and that's for the whole state of Nebraska and Kansas. So that works out to be about 1,600 to 1,700 people who come to this event, and it is a 4-day event, and there are meals and worship services, a whole lot of things to plan for. And my role in it is not to really do any of the programming portion of it, but I work with the venue where we're having the event and also the caterer, and I do all the registration for it. So I manage a lot of the details for that event, and it actually was only about an hour and a half away from my house, which was nice because sometimes it can be about 5 or 6 hours away. So I enjoyed not being too far away from home and having to travel too much, but it's still a beast of an event. So I'm always really glad when it's over with. And then I spent a few days at home before we went off to spend time with my in-laws in Vermont. We spent about the first half of the trip in Vermont, and then the second half we went over to New Hampshire, where my stepmother-in-law has a lake house at Lake Winnipesaukee. So that's always a really great time. I love spending time over there. It's just a whole different way of life when I get to visit relatives up there, because my mother-in-law lives on a dirt road, not many people around, on a large pond, and you can swim in that pond. It's fresh water. So I spent a lot of time swimming there, and then of course we spent a lot of time swimming at Lake Winnipesaukee. So that was really cool. The house on Lake Winnipesaukee is it was built in 1898, and it's a very special place, but it's not going to be rated as my #1 place to be, only because there's no indoor bathroom. So you don't get to take showers when you're there, and you have to use the restroom in an outhouse. So that's I like to have a shower every day, so that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but other than that, it is such a special place, and it's just beautiful. You can't beat the scenery and all the wonderful noises of the animals, and you're just disconnected from a lot of the internet and TV. You're just experiencing nature, which I think everybody should do every now and again. So enough about what I've been doing. Well, one more thing also. The day we got back from our trip on July 1st, we celebrated my son's 2nd birthday. So that was really special. We didn't have a party or anything because there wasn't enough time to really plan anything and get stuff together. So we just had a really nice day together as a family, and now I have a 2-year-old. So on to the cross stitching. The first thing I'm going to show you is an FFO, and these are the earrings from the Cross Stitch magazine that I've talked about in the last couple of videos. They are completely finished. I cut them out and put the hardware on. They hang nicely, and I did end up adding beads. I don't know if you can tell, little seed beads here. There's 3 rows of pink seed beads, and I put that on all the pink chevrons that are in this. Well, every other pink chevron actually. I just wanted to add a little sparkle. You can't really tell there's that much sparkle in the video, but in person they're more sparkly, and it really brought the colors out, made them pop a little bit better. So I'll be giving those to my stepmother-in-law. Her birthday's not till November, so I have some time, and it's already in a box. So all I have to do is wrap it and mail it out to her. I always like to have presents done early, and I normally never do that, so it feels good when I do have something ready to go. And the next project that I have is actually a finish, and here it is. It's called Rainbow Hot Air Balloon, and this is stitched on 22 count blue Aida 1/1, and I went ahead and added the words Dream in color. I'm not completely thrilled with how, well, it looks better than it did. I redid the word dream a couple different times, but I don't know, it was hard because I added them myself, so I had to chart it myself, and I charted it on paper and it looked great, but then when I started stitching it, it didn't look that great. So anyway, it looks a lot better than it did, because the D and the R used to be even worse scrunched together, and now there's a little bit more space in there. But I really like how it turned out, and I'm going to finish it in a hoop. I have this hoop, but I think it's a little too big. I want to get a little bit smaller of a hoop. And also this hoop doesn't come with, a second one to push the fabric in. And I know there's probably a way to finish your project in a hoop with only this part of it, but I think it probably is a way easier to get a hoop that pushes the second hoop pushes the fabric in, and then you're done. I'm not very good with trying to figure out sewing projects. I need to start, I guess, watching some videos to show me how to do some cool things. But for right now, yeah, I'm not that great at that sort of thing. And then my next project that I worked on was the Winter Garden by the Drawn Thread, and it looks like that. I decided to spend more time on the Winter Garden because I figure that's a good goal to be done by winter time for this project, and then every time I finish one of the seasons for these gardens, then I'll just start on the next one. And hopefully, once it's been 1 year of me working on this, I'll have 4 of those finished. Hopefully. We'll see. But when I showed you this the last time, sorry, let me get something to put behind it. It's all wrinkled because I had it folded up. I was not happy with, I started in Stitch Mania, and I had just done the bottom 3 words. And I wasn't happy with how light the words were, and decided to go ahead and do 2 strands of thread over 2 on the fabric. And I went ahead and also did a darker color because I just felt like that thread color did not pop at all on this, and wanted to change it up. So I guess it's considered a restart, I don't know. But this is the project I brought with me on our trip, and I got, this is page 1, is this whole section here. And so I got dogwood done, and then I'm working on juniper. I have the first green color complete, and now I'm working on the darker green color. And then I was able to go through and do all the snowflakes, which I really had a good time doing those. The chart gives you a step-by-step guide on how to do those snowflakes, because some of them there's, on up to 30 something times you're putting the needle in the fabric to just get that tiny snowflake. So they put guides in to help you do it correctly and properly. I've really enjoyed this project. I want to get back to it, but I can't get back to it quite yet because I found something else to work on, of course. So that project I'll show you next. Let me just get this out of the way here. Oh, one thing I wanted to tell you about this project, because I had a question on one of my videos about drawn threads and converting, if the patterns have DMC conversions on it. And these garden ones do not have a DMC conversion. And then I have 2 other drawn thread patterns. One of them did come with the DMC conversion, and the other one did not. And I did convert a lot of the threads to DMC. The needlepoint ink silk. In this one, you can see what I did here. Sorry, let me just take this out. So there's all these needlepoint ink silks. And so I did convert all those to DMC because I did find a conversion chart online to do that. And then for this chart in particular, all the rest are dinky dyes. And I went ahead and bought the dinky dyes because I thought there was enough variegation in dinky dyes that I wanted to make sure to use those threads for the project. So you can see this is kind of a mess. I should take the chart out so you can see that. But, I have, that's a dinky dye actually, because I have the DD up there, that's dinky dye. But here's the DMCs, and then there's a dinky dye there. Yeah, it's kind of just a mess in a bag, but that's how I brought it with me to travel in. The next project that I have is actually for my husband. His birthday is coming up July 26th, so a little over a couple weeks from now. And I was trying to be really thoughtful with his gift because I feel like I've kind of been bad about leaving gifts and things to the last minute, whether it be Father's Day, Christmas, or birthdays or anything, I just have been leaving it to the last minute and felt like I haven't given him something more special. And so I've bought a couple things that I know he's going to want because he mentioned them, and I took a mental note and thought, I am going to buy those. He probably knows I bought them because we share bank account and he can see purchases. Oh well. Well, not bank account. Anyway, I won't go. We do share a bank account, but I won't go into how we handle our finances on here. But needless to say, he knows all the purchases that are made because he pays a lot of attention to finances, which I'm very thankful for because then I don't have to. Anyway, I wanted his birthday to be a little bit more special. So I've made some purchases, but I'm also doing a cross stitch for him. And he likes BMWs. I think he had an old Mercedes as his first car for a couple of years, but other than that, he's had 2 other cars, and they've both been BMWs. And I don't know if he's ever going to move on to another type car, or if he's going to continue having one his whole life. But the one he has currently is, I think, a 1990 or 1991 model, and he fixes it himself. He keeps it really nice. It's in a great shape. It looks like a brand new car. You would never know it's from 1990. He even has he's done up our garage really nice, but all these garage cabinets, all the shelving, and he bought a big flag. I mean, the flag's probably 4 feet wide by 2.5 feet long. That's BMW, and hung it up in the garage. So I figure this would be something that maybe he would like. I'm not really sure, but I'm enjoying making it for him, and hopefully he'll enjoy having it. So what I found was a BMW logo online. And let me just tell you a little bit more about this before I show you where I'm at. I went online and Googled it, and I said, I am looking for BMW Cross Stitch pattern. And I didn't search very long. I just kind of picked the first thing. Well, not the first thing. I did look and look and look, but I just kept coming back to the first thing that I saw. And it came up in Google Images, and it was the BMW logo. It was not for purchase. It was just in Google Images as a cross-stitch pattern that you can print off. And I don't even remember who the designer is. Doesn't even matter because the chart was wonky. It was, once I started stitching it, I realized, this is supposed to be a round circle. And there's no way this is going to end up a round circle. And when you look at the pattern a little bit more, you can tell that they're not squares for each stitch. They're all different shapes of rectangles. So I went out and I bought some graph paper and sort of recharted the whole thing to be normal. So hopefully it's going to turn out really good. I don't know. Even the letters were weird. I recharted the letters. But here is where I am so far. It's only going to be maybe 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches. So I have the center logo done with some of the silver stitching, and then I started on the black portion. So all I have to do to finish is surround that whole silver circle with the black up to here. So it goes all the way around. And then from there, I have to do one more silver circle around it, and it will be through. So it's a quick little stitch, but it is taking up my time and focus, especially because I've recharted and recharted this pattern, and that's taken up a lot of my stitching time. But I am enjoying it, and the other cool thing about this is I was able to use for the first time Krennic, right? This is Krennic blending filament, and this is Silver 001. I could have just used a gray DMC, but I wanted to put some bling in there and have some sparkle to make it look that much more fancy. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish this project, whether I'm going to just frame it or make it into a card. I was thinking about making it into just a birthday card, but I figure you can't really do much with a birthday card. So I think I might go ahead and frame it. So I need to get to work so that I can finish it and then get on to the craft stores to see if I can frame it myself or if I'm going to need their help in getting it FFO'd and framed by July 26th. So those are my whips. Before I go into the 20 things about me, I did want to show you a couple other things that I have acquired over the last 5 weeks. When I went in to get the Krennic, I went to my local needlework shop near my work, and of course took a look around, and I found a couple Mill Hill ornament kits, and I am excited to try these. I'm not sure when I will ever get around to them, but I'm excited to try them. This one is called Chalkboard Christmas. So it's got that black background with the white lettering to look like a chalkboard with the bright greens and reds on there, and then it comes with this bead at the bottom. I thought that was really cute. I liked the outline of it and the shape of it. I think it would look really cute on the Christmas tree. I don't even see where the other beads are. There's not very many beads in this one, I don't think. Just some red ones. And then the other Mill Hill kit that I bought is called, let me pull this off. It's called Lapis. It's Christmas Jewels Charmed Ornaments, and this one's Lapis. And I just like the colors in this one, the blues and the greens, and there's a lot of beads. So it's very sparkly. You can't really tell how sparkly it is in this photo, but it is a jewel ornament, so it will be quite sparkly. So I figure I could stitch this one up at some point and then maybe try and get the other jewel ornaments and hang them on my Christmas tree. Really cute. I need to get a sip of water. I ran 5 miles this morning in 80-degree heat, so I feel like I'm still trying to cool off from doing that. All right, so, oh, and I guess I wanted to talk about my plans for the remainder of July. Of course, I want to finish the BMW. And then I also want to really start working on 2 different whips. Of course, it's my Heaven and Earth Design Peacock Days. I want to continue to try to get a lot of progress on that done every month, which I didn't work on it at all in June and haven't worked on it at all yet in July. So once I finish the BMW, I want to spend a solid week just cranking out some blocks on my Heaven and Earth design. And then also I have the Christmas stocking that my husband and I are going to share. It's the Dimensions Gold kit. I want to make sure I'm continuing to get some steady progress on that as well, because I don't want it to be 10 years from now before we finally get our Christmas stocking hung up. So that's what the remainder of July is going to look like. And then I will also continue to work on the winter garden for a week in August, this is August, I'll work on the winter garden for a week, see how much I can get going on that. Again, the stocking, and again, the heaven and earth design. So then I have room for one more project to slip in there, and I'm not exactly sure what that's going to be. I'll have to look through my whips and think about which one is the most important for me to try to get done. It may be that I'll work 2 weeks on heaven and earth design and then do the winter garden and the stocking. I don't know. Or I'll do 2 weeks on the stocking. We'll see what I do. We'll see if I even can do a rotation, because I have never done a rotation before. And I'm just realizing there's another thing that I haven't told you about. My mother-in-law is a cross stitcher. Well, she was a cross stitcher. And she had stacks upon stacks upon stacks of cross stitch magazines, which unfortunately she just recently got rid of without even asking me if I wanted them. But why would she ask me? She lives all the way in Vermont. It would be really hard to get those magazines here in Nebraska where I live. But I did find a pattern that she did keep 5 magazines because she's working on this large rug and she wants to finish it. And the rug came out in 5 different parts, maybe even 6 different parts. So she did have those 6 magazines at her house. So of course I thumbed through there, and I did find one that I really liked, and it's in Stitcher's World November 2002 issue. And I don't know what this is called. It says Tannenbaum at the top of this. I'm trying to see if there's it's by Sharon okay, it is Tannenbaum Stitch Guide, and it's or Tannenbaum Stitch by Sharon Pope. And it is this Christmas tree. Sorry, this is black and white. I made copies of it at her house. But it's really actually very colorful and full of variegated floss. So I did take a picture of the magazine. I just really loved the tree. The whole tree was really pretty. The flosses were very pretty. And it's actually very sparkly as well. So I don't know when or if I'll ever get around to this, but I thought if I do find time at some point in my life, I have it ready for me to do. Okay. So last of the video will be the 20 things about me. And bear with me, I didn't really think this through very much. I hope that I don't go on and on and on and on forever, because this video is already almost 30 minutes long. Okay, so the first thing I have to share is that I ran on the cross country team in high school. I wasn't on the cross country team the first season, but I was on track team, and then I went my first year, my freshman year. I was on track team, and so I went ahead and signed up for cross country as well, and did track and cross country all through high school. And my high school was 5A, a large high school, and there were about 80-ish girls and 80-ish boys on the team. Large team. You didn't have to try out, you didn't have to make the team, but there was only 7 varsity places, and it just so happens the whole 4 years that I was, or almost 4 years that I was in it, there was about 5 or 6 girls who just naturally were awesome and could run like the wind. They did great. And so it left little room for anyone really to get onto varsity the whole time I was in there. So I was never on varsity, but I was good enough to be on what they called the traveling team. So when the varsity team would go to the regional and state races, I did get to travel with them. And they had us time trial the course and everything. It was a lot of fun. Just taking those trips with the team was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed being on the cross-country team. It was a great thing to be a part of throughout high school. The second item here is my first job was at Chick-fil-A. And I was only 15 years old when I got that job. And the reason, I wasn't even looking for a job, but the reason I got the job was my older brother was looking. And the Chick-fil-A people had called our home phone asking for my brother and inquiring about him getting the job. And I said, oh, he already found a job. Sorry. He had already started working at, I think, Kroger, the grocery store Kroger. And they asked me, well, how old are you? And I said 15. So they asked me if I was interested. And I said, okay, why not? So I started working at Chick-fil-A. And I really liked working at Chick-fil-A. There was a couple guys from my cross-country team who worked there as well. So they were a lot of fun. They were funny. I liked to make root beer floats. There was root beer and then the soft serve ice cream, so I would make little root beer floats every time that I was there. I really enjoyed that. But the one thing I did not enjoy, which they had me do, was dress up as the cow. And that was because I was tall enough to wear the suit. And I did not like wearing it because it was hot most of the time, really hot. It felt like the costume was probably really dirty. And it scared a lot of kids. A lot of kids are scared of those big old animals that walk around. So I didn't much like doing that. And I also was frustrated because there were guys who were working there that wanted to dress up as the cow, but they were needed elsewhere because they were faster baggers. And so I guess I wasn't a fast enough food bagger. So I got to dress up as the cow. Eventually, I did go ahead and quit the job because I didn't ever really need the job or want to get a job at that point. And yeah, I tried it out for about 3 months and then went ahead and stopped working for a little while. My third item is that I'm a middle child. I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me, and then I have a younger sister who is 7 years younger than me. I have traveled to 4 different countries. The first one was Singapore, where my cousin lived. And as a present, when I graduated high school, my aunt and uncle flew me out to Singapore to spend a little over a week out there with my cousin. So that was really, really cool. I flew there all by myself. 3 flights from Texas to California to Japan to Singapore. So that was an experience. And also, when I got off the plane in Singapore, there were guys standing there with machine guns. And I wasn't quite prepared for that. I thought, whoa, where am I? Am I in the right spot? But that's just the way they do things over there. The other countries I've been is Canada. I've been to all different places in Canada because I have in-laws who live out there. My husband and I went to the Bahamas for our honeymoon for a week. We went to Exuma Bay and stayed at an all-inclusive resort. So that was pretty amazing. We met 2 other couples while we were there who got married around the same time as us. We took our honeymoon a few months after our actual wedding. But I've stayed in touch with those gals on Facebook, and we all now have kids. So it's kind of fun to just watch how we are progressing through life and have such similar stories as far as our timeline goes. The last country I've been to is Mexico, and I only stopped there briefly. We were on a cruise, and one of the stops was Cozumel. So we spent a day in Cozumel, Mexico. My 5th item about me is that my dad is an artist. He has always been an amazing artist of all different medias. I mean, pencils, pens, watercolor, oils, acrylic, anything you can think of, he can do. And he has that natural ability. He's had it since he was a child. And he went to art school and became, well, his career path led him to be a graphic designer. But before graphic designing existed, he did the hand drawings. And he had that job for quite a long time. And being an artist and doing his paintings were his hobby, his craft that he would do outside of work. I actually have something hanging behind me that I can show you that these zoo paintings I took from them because I thought this really matched what I was going for. Right now I'm in our guest bedroom, and the house came with a big fan. The room came with a big fan that looks like palm fronds on it, like the big palm tree leaves. So I kind of went with that theme for the bedroom. And so I asked my parents if I could have the zoo paintings to hang in here, and they said yes. So I'm fortunate enough to have quite a few paintings from my dad. And these are just three of them. The sixth one is that my mom's a hairdresser. You would never know that my mom's a hairdresser judging by my hair. I don't have the best hair. It's very, very fine and delicate and baby-like. Never grew up hair. And I don't really fix it because I don't enjoy it. So it's kind of weird that my mom's a hairdresser and always looks really great and done up, and I barely do anything to get ready for the day. I did try to cut my son's hair today, and he was not happy. I guess that's like the terrible twos, because he used to be fine when I've trimmed his bangs before, and my mom's done all his other haircuts. But today, he was not having it. I gave him a dum-dum, I gave him candy. Yeah, he was not happy. I was about to accidentally stab the poor kid because he kept shaking his head so much, so I kind of gave up. So his haircut right now is not the best, but he looks so cute because you can see his face again. He has a lot of hair. That gets it from my father, or from my husband. So he needs haircut, but he has curls in the back. So I didn't really cut the back. I just cut around here so he could see again. Poor kid. My seventh thing is that I'm scared of spiders. I watched Arachnophobia when I was little. Way too little to be watching that movie, but like I said, I have an older brother who's 3 years older than me, and he was having a sleepover, and they had rented Arachnophobia, and against my parents' wishes, or behind their back, I guess you could say, I stayed up late and watched the movie with them, and now I am scared of spiders. Do not like them at all. Hence the whole not enjoying going to the outhouse at the lake house, because there are spiders in there. Ugh. My eighth thing about me is I want to run a half marathon and a full marathon in my lifetime. I would love to have that as an accomplishment. I admire people who are able to do that much running and train for it. And so I want to do that as well. But I don't want to do it until we're done having kids. I want to wait till after we're done having kids to do all that training, because I feel like the minute I'd be ready to run a marathon, I'd get pregnant or something. So I decided I'll just kind of exercise and stay in shape until then, and after I have our last baby, then I'll train. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the reason that I'm here is because of love. When people ask me why I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, or how I got here, I tell them love, unless I have more time to explain it. And that is because my husband grew up in Vermont, and I grew up in Flower Mound, Texas, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And now we live in Lincoln. So a lot of people are curious as to how we ended up there. And the reason is my husband got a job, a nice job in Lincoln, and decided to go ahead and move across or halfway across the country for the job. And that job, whoever receives that job has to go down to Texas to do a 6-week training for the job. And that's how I met him. And that's how I ended up in Lincoln, Nebraska. When I was younger, I did dance from, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 3 or 4, all the way up until my freshman year of high school. I did ballet, tap, and jazz. That was a lot of fun to do, although I realized as I got older that I'm more of an athletic person. Not that dancing isn't athletic, don't get me wrong, because it really, really is. But I'm not graceful, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm not graceful. I don't have the best posture. I have like really long, skinny arms that just don't flow for ballet. And so my mom wasn't very happy, but I said, I don't want to do dance anymore, and joined the cross country team instead. But it was a fun thing to be a part of, and if we ever have a baby girl, I'll probably put her in dance and see if she likes it. I had what I would call a near-death experience. Maybe it's not a near-death experience, but when we were on our honeymoon, we did an excursion in the Bahamas, and part of that excursion was to go into a cave or a cove, or shoot, I don't even know what the name of this is. Basically, it's this huge rock that it looks like a big old rock sticking out of the water, and the boat stops you by the rock, and you swim over, and you have to swim underneath the rocks to get inside and experience this really amazing area. And the getting in there part was pretty easy, especially because the people who led the excursion were helping you lead you in the exact right spot to get in there. But there was probably a good 6 to 10 of us that decided we wanted to adventure even further, have more of an adventurous time that day. And we got to the other side of the cove, and we could see the light shining out. So we decided to swim out underneath to get to the other side of the rock. So that wasn't really that hard. You had to swim underneath, and then you had to stop for a minute and find an air pocket to get a couple breaths, and then swim the rest of the way out. That part wasn't really that hard, and I don't even really know why we were doing it. We just did. But then we had to get back in the cove, and that was a different story because there was no light guiding you, in there. So we went for it, and my husband and I went under at the same time, and others had gone before us. And when I got under there, I realized that there was already 2 or 3 people at the air pocket. So I was sitting there swimming under this rock, freaking out, thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need to get air, and, these people are in the way. So luckily I found another air pocket. I caught a few breaths, and then I had to swim with all my might out of there. In fact, I even pulled on this guy's leg to get me out because the tide started, and, I don't know if anyone's experienced swimming against the tide, but that can be pretty tough. And so thankfully that guy's leg was there. Thankfully I found an extra air pocket, but seriously, that could have been a pretty tragic experience. And once I got out of where I needed to be, I couldn't find my husband. I thought he was still stuck under the rock. So then I was scared about that, but he showed up somewhere and he was fine. And we were trying to get back into the boat to continue the rest of the excursion, and I had to swim against the tide all the way back to the boat. It felt like I was swimming with all my might, and I'm a pretty strong swimmer, and I wasn't barely moving anywhere. So anyway, it's a story to tell. It was crazy. I don't know what we were thinking. Never will do anything like that again. The 12th thing about me is that I love caffeinated beverages. I love coffee, tea, soda, all those beverages that are caffeinated, I love them. So I do have to limit myself to how much that I drink, because seriously, I would probably drink that stuff all day. I don't really drink soda anymore. I'll drink maybe one a week or something. I try not to have too much of that, but I definitely do drink coffee and tea every day. I'm not a morning person. I think if I had it my way, you'd get to go to bed around midnight or 1 every night and then not wake up until 9 o'clock-ish and have a slow wake-up process. But that's not how the real world works. So, I've had a, 8 to 4 job for many, many, many years now. And I was told at the beginning of it that I would get used to waking up that early, it would come naturally, but I still hate waking up in the morning. I don't know what it is. I'll be tired all day, and then 8:30 rolls around, and all of a sudden I have a second wind. It's just crazy. I love nail polish. I always have. Always loved painting my nails, any different colors, and I like seeing other people's nails and what they painted. And what's really cool is with the craft that we're in, I noticed that a lot of other people who knit, crochet, or do cross stitch also paint their nails, so it's fun to see what everybody does with their nails. It's just eye candy for me. To go along with painting, in our house that we live in, it's our first house, and we lived here for almost 5 years now. We painted every single room except for 3. We didn't paint our laundry room, the office, or the half bathroom downstairs. Otherwise, we painted all the hallways, all the stairways, all the bedrooms, the other bathrooms, kitchen, everything. We painted it all. And that was a chore. And I'd like to say I would never paint any rooms in another house, but the thing is, I love colors. And so if I don't like the look of a room, I'm probably going to want to paint it in the future. Not that I'm going to want to do the work, but I want to have a different outcome. My hair color is my natural hair color is actually brown. I stated before that my mom's a hairdresser, so I've actually had every hair color. I haven't done like blues and pinks and purples and things like that, but I've had, blonde, red, brown, I've done a lot of experimenting with hair colors just because I could. My mom was there to do them for me, and it was free, and it was fun to change it up. So right now I'm kind of this, I don't even know what you would call it. It's turning out to be very blonde, but it used to be like an auburn color. Don't ask me how that happened. I had a very, very bad arm break. Right when I got engaged in 2011, we went on a bike ride, and I was I was with my brother-in-law, or my now brother-in-law, and my husband, and we had been going on a long bike ride. I mean, it was probably almost, 15 to 20 miles by that point, and we were still going. And we had stopped at Walgreens to get Gatorades, and my brother-in-law, he likes to take photos, so he had stopped to start taking some photos, and so I was kind of trying to slow down, and I was looking behind me to see what they were doing, and I was thirsty, so I grabbed the Gatorade with one hand and was drinking it, and realized I had come up onto an intersection, and I was going downhill, and I had this Gatorade in my hand, and I was picking up speed, so I decided to press the brakes. Well, something you should know about bikes is you don't ever brake with only one hand, because that only stops one of the tires. It doesn't stop both the tires. So I ended up flying over the handlebars. My legs kind of smashed into the handlebars. I had these bruises on my legs from where they smashed into the handlebars, and all my impact was on my elbow. And you can see this is where my scar is. It ended up being an open fracture. And the funny thing was, my husband decided to ride his bike all the way back home, grab the car, and come pick me up. And we went to like a little urgent clinic, and they took one look and said, yeah, you need to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and we were kind of making jokes, like, oh, maybe you need some stitches. Maybe it's just, we didn't know what it was. It was bleeding and everything. But we were making jokes and betting how long it would be before I got to go home that night. And I ended up having to stay in the hospital for three nights and 4 days. I ended up having to have 2 surgeries. The first one was to clean it out, because it ended up being an open fracture, meaning the bone was exposed. And then, so clean it out, and to, get the bone all in place, put some hardware in there. There was like a little hook that went around, a plate and a hook that went around, and then some screws to make the bone be where they needed to be so they could heal. And then I had to have a second surgery to clean it out again, because they really want to make sure it doesn't get infected, because if you get a bone infection, that's really not good. So yeah, that was crazy. I had that hardware in my arm for a little over a year and decided to get it removed. I could still have it in my arm if I wanted to, but I decided I didn't want it in there forever. So I got it removed, and my arm feels better now than it did when that metal in there actually wasn't very comfortable. Anytime something would hit my arm, it hurt so bad. And now I can hit my arm, and it's not a problem. So anyway, no lasting effects from that, which is very lucky. Okay, I only have 2 more. Number 19, I love antiques. I love old houses. I like to go to different towns and tour old homes that have been, what's the word I'm looking for? They try to keep it in the same time period as when the home was built. And so whenever we're in new towns and cities, I always look up older homes that you're able to tour, because I just love that. And I like to go into antique stores and look at all the old things. And one day I am going to do that all the time and have a little bit of a collection of stuff to put in my home. But I haven't gotten as far as to actually purchase anything. But once I start going out there more, I will. And I actually want to start looking, for old cross stitches. See what I can find out there as well. And number 20 is, I couldn't think of anything else, so I wanted to tell you I am 5'8". I'm a little bit above average height for a girl. I think the average is around 5'6", maybe. And that is it. That is all I have to share with you guys. That was a whole lot. I don't think I've ever had a video this long. But I have really enjoyed watching all of your videos and learning about you guys. So I thought I need to share about me as well. So keep them coming. Keep doing the 20 things about you if you haven't done it yet. I am going to spend the rest of my son's nap time cleaning up, and I'm going to start stitching on the BMW, see how much more I can get done of that. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy stitching. Until next time, bye.